Hey everyone, it's Sherry with A Girl and Her Dog, and it's time for episode 11 of Strong from the Inside and Out. I am very excited to be back with you. It's been a few days. I think the last time I was here, I was in San Antonio, had a great conference in San Antonio. If any of you listening are educators, I would definitely recommend that conference for sure. It was the Professional Learning Communities at Work, the PLC conference. It was not cheap, however, very impactful, very empowering, and not just for me as a school leader, but also for my teachers that attended and the people that were around us. So just a great time. And then of course I got to spend a little time in San Antonio, which who doesn't love that time on the Riverwalk? And the weather was actually very nice, except for the night it rained, but we just stayed in the hotel and it was all good. So today I'm here to spend some time with you as I've been working through and organizing all of my things. One thing, if you haven't noticed about me, is I can get a little bit unfocused. I know that I'm very ADHD. I've always been like that since I was young. And I'll start something and then I'll move on to something else. And then I remember I need to go back and start this and do that. And I just get so involved in so many of my different projects that then I'll just kind of get off track a little bit. So it's been nice to have a minute this weekend to just organize and think things through. I'm currently on vacation, I guess you would say, from the principal job, and my calendar looks great. My checklists are all there. I was sharing with someone last night. It's just kind of nice to be able to have that time to get that done. And knowing that it's going to start a new school year coming up and get real busy, that I want to be planned ahead on that. But as I've been working through and thinking things through and learning and doing all of the great things that a person does to be their very best, I really have learned that a great way to organize is to keep everything kind of connected. So what I would like to start doing is between my YouTube channel episode each week and my blog and then my social media, kind of keep the same theme. And so I'm going to rotate, and I've made my calendar already, through the 4 areas that I really work on when I think about myself and I think about being strong inside and out. So of course, the first one is working on my own self-image, me believing in myself, my mindset, my self-esteem, my confidence level, and giving tips and tricks and strategies and things for that. And then the second area I really focus on is my health and wellness. And not that I'm a personal trainer, I've said that before, but just that, how do I approach eating, my eating habits, and what vitamins and supplements, and what types of exercise, and what does movement mean, and how important is sleep, and all those things that go in with your health and wellness. And then, of course, I do want to make sure that I spend some time thinking about like leadership and how you move from being just, in your average world, maybe you don't believe in yourself and you move into that strong woman role. You don't necessarily have to be the boss. You don't necessarily have to have a given title to be a leader, but so many times we find ourselves in areas of leadership that are just given to us naturally sometimes. I know even before I became a principal, I was just one of those teacher leaders. And it really just kind of happened for me. And then how do we step up when it's just happening for me? And then of course I want to talk about, like goal setting and how we attack the things in our world that we want to accomplish. Because I know the more we have goals, and that can be any kind of goals. We can be talking about professional, personal, relationship, self-care, any kind of goals. How do we attack those? So having said that, this week we're going to talk about self-care and I'm sorry, self-image, not self-care, self-image. Self-care kind of goes into it, but self-image and that mindset and believing in ourselves. And so this week I'm going to have a little bonus coming up. I'm not sure the exact air date for this, but I've got a couple of people that will be joining me for interviewing and talking about their programs that they have. I'm super excited to start doing this. This really has been the vision of where I would like to go with either this YouTube channel or eventually turning into a podcast. And yeah, I'm super excited. So I've got 2 ladies already that I'll be meeting with this week and making a plan. So that will be coming up, and just being able to really support women in general. That's the whole purpose of what we're going to do. So stay tuned for some really great things. So let's talk a little bit about self-image. In my blog this week, I shared information about just my whole mindset that I had to work on. So growing up as a child, and I'm not sure if I've shared this with you before, but I grew up in a messy home. We're just going to say that. My parents were young when I was born, and they went through a lot of changes. Unfortunately, they were not able to stay together. It was just better if they didn't. And then, as a normal family grows, we all have to learn how to adjust with the ebbs and flows, and bringing in a new partner for my dad, where we lived with my dad for part of the time. And so, of course, that was a challenge. And then learning how to have a different kind of relationship with our mom. And then on top of all of that, we lived in a really small town. And my family is kind of a big family. Like, people knew my name, and everybody knew our business. And so I just kind of got to that point where I didn't want people to know. I just kind of kept it to myself. And, there would be times that I was a little embarrassed. For example, I've shared the story that I knew I wanted to be a teacher very young because teachers helped me. They helped me believe in myself, but they also just helped me. My first grade teacher was my third grade teacher as well. And she would keep me in her classroom. I would get to grade papers, play with the projector, the overhead, because I'm old, and write on the chalkboard, pretend like I was teaching, help her organize things in the classroom, because my mom would forget to pick me up sometimes. And, she didn't want me as a little young child to be sitting outside all by myself. And so we just got to go into her classroom until someone would find my parents, and then I'd be able to get picked up, and typically my mom, because my dad was working. So, when those things happen, those are not things that you want to broadcast to the world, of course. And I'm at a point at 51 where I'm healed from all of that, but it's embarrassing. And then in addition to that, I felt very self-conscious about myself. I've shared before that my mom had a lot of body image issues, and those projected onto me. And then I had some difficulty with just the way I felt I looked at that point in my life. As I started to grow into my teenage years, my teeth came in, and they weren't the greatest, and I had not gotten braces. My parents were not pursuing that for me. So just that on top of it, in addition, was challenging. Then there was a period of time where I gained some weight. I was always a very small child, but toward high school age, I started to gain some weight, and I just felt uncomfortable in my skin. And so nonetheless, that whole long story really, really, really caused me to be painfully shy. And just to a point where I was anxious about everything. I was worried about other people's feelings and thoughts about me, whether they were accurate or not, because that's a thing. When a person has self-image issues, whether they're valid or not, it doesn't matter, because in our minds, we believe that that's the truth, right? Our perception is our reality. And so it was a lot. It was tiring. It was more to keep to myself, knowing that I had so much that I wanted to share with the world. I had so much I wanted to give. So for example, I got into college and I knew the answers and I knew of ways to help people. I was working on my teaching certification and I just would come up with these ideas that I just knew I could support someone and help someone, but I was too nervous. I was too shy and I was too scared that someone would shoot my idea down, but I just kept it to myself. And I had kind of a longer road in college because I did get pregnant and had a baby, and that took a little time away. So when I turned 24 and I graduated from college finally, I was like, this has got to stop. I need to be able to be me because it was burning inside of me. And I had the perfect solution. So I didn't want to move to Houston. I'll be honest. When I went to my first job fair and I was offered this job right away, coming from a tiny small town in north central Iowa to this big city in the South where I knew it was warm and just a whole different atmosphere. I was not up for it. And my ex-husband kind of pushed me to do so. And so I felt like, okay, if I'm going to have to do this, then let's do this. Let's do this right. And it was my perfect opportunity. And that's when I made a huge, huge pivot and really reinvented myself. So once I got down here, nobody knew me. No one. Well, okay, that's not entirely true. A couple of people from my high school were also hired, ironically, in my same school district to teach. Very, very strange. Very small world. The world we live in is very, very small. But besides those few people, and I knew them well, so I felt comfortable with them, I was able to reinvent. And let me tell you how I did it. Is I really had to step back and I had to think about what were the things that were holding me back. What in my mind, what was my perception that was keeping me from taking that next step? And then I had to figure out how I was going to adjust from that. So for example, what was making me think people were going to make fun of my ideas? What was making me think that? And I had to reflect and I had to process and I had to really think it through. And then I had to say, okay, look, some of these thoughts are just in my head. Some of these things were things that were not even really true. And as a matter of fact, I had some great ideas. Of course, I was a new teacher, but I had some things that I could bring to the table. And as a mom, I had even more things because I had a child and I wanted the best for my child when she went to school. So I just always felt like I could, bring that perspective. And I had to get over that. So I vowed to myself, you're not going to second guess yourself on these things. You're going to really step forward and you're going to put it out there. And if someone says no to your idea, what do you have to lose anyway, right? I would have never gotten the idea through if I hadn't shared it. And so it's taking that risk and that chance and being comfortable with if someone turns it down. It's okay. It's all right. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means that for the moment, that idea is just not the best idea. So that was one thing I had to do. And I had to do that in a few different areas, especially because I felt about my looks. So went through that whole time in high school I mentioned where I gained some weight. Well, when I started college, I was a PE major. So of course I was running and I was working out and I was doing all of the things. And then while I was finishing up my degree, which did change a little bit, I was also working a full-time job and I was a mom to a toddler, a little preschool child. And so, I was active. I was always doing something. I played on an adult softball league. I did an adult volleyball league. I was an avid bicyclist at the time and still running here and there, but just very, very active. And then when I moved to Houston, that kind of stopped because we lived in an apartment and it was not quite, conducive to not even walking. It was so hot. We got here at the end of July and it was just so hot. And so I felt that I was gaining the weight and that was another thing. And I had to say, okay, You're still the same person, no matter what the outside looks like. You're still the same person. You still have the same brain. You still have the same heart. You still have the same great ideas. You still have the kindness that you bring to the table. You still have the empathy for the students and for your friends and the people around you, and things that I took pride in about being myself. And I had to come back to that. And I did like a little like meditation kind of thing once a week, just to remind myself to come back to what are the great things about me? And does that have anything to do with how I look on the outside? Does that have anything to do with how my teeth look? Because I still hadn't gotten my teeth fixed at that point. And it was something that was on my mind a lot, but I had to keep reminding myself, that doesn't make you the person that you are. That's the outside physical look. That can be adjusted, that can be changed. And so as I started to accept those things about myself, I was able to say, okay, if you're not happy with these things, let's start to fix them. And then I would get on that path of being able to fix them, because clearly my teeth are better and my weight is absolutely under control as well. So, you know, we're gonna ebb and flow, like I said before, things are gonna happen, and you have to just remember what are the great things about you. So number one, I had to like stop and think about what were the things in my mind that I thought was holding me back. And then number two, I had to do those reflections and you know, do that positive self-talk with myself. And then number three, the hardest thing I had to do was I had to build a social circle, because I felt like if I could find a friend, and not that I didn't have friends before, but if I could find a friend or a group of friends that I really could connect with, then I could feel some worth in myself and feel a little bit better about myself. And so it took me a minute. It really did. My ex-husband was very, very shy as well. I guess that's why we attracted to each other. And we didn't really go out and do a lot of things. It was expensive to live in Houston, more expensive than at home. And he didn't always have a full-time job. And so, you know, it was a little bit more difficult to get out. But once we started getting out and doing things, it almost started to feel like that phrase of success breeds success. Because as I got to know people and would bring people into my circle, and some have stayed in my circle and they're still in my circle now, and some they had to leave the circle because they just weren't the right fit for me, or I wasn't the right fit for them, and that was okay. But finding that I could build relationships with people, and then valuing those relationships and not feeling alone, having people to talk to and share, you know, good things. And then when times are hard, you know, being able to find that, and you find those people and you keep those people in your world. So again, had to do a lot of reflection, had to start talking to myself in a positive way. And then I had to really start thinking about making some friends and getting out there and doing things, pushing myself out of that comfort zone. And again, that was probably my hardest thing to do. And then I just had to decide, what was it that I wanted to be in the world? And that's where I would say probably my final step came in, and I started doing the leadership kind of work, and the kind of work that took me now from this level to this level. And that it was kind of the fun work, because now that I felt better about myself and I had taken these little baby steps along the way, I really started to see that this was a possibility, and I could almost design my life like the sky's the limit. So fast forward to 50. Okay, so that was when I was 24, and working through that process, I think I felt pretty good about myself around the age of 28. It took some time. I didn't seek out outside help or anything, but I was able to kind of do the work myself and just gave the time to it. Now thinking about myself at 50, here's the thing, I'm ready to make a pivot again. And it's going to be a reinvention. It really is. So going through the last few years after a divorce and finding myself and realizing how strong, courageous, confident, and clear, and have a little program about that, but confident, courageous, clear on who I am as an independent, strong woman. Where do I go from here? And there are some self-awareness self-image things I have to do. Again, because for example, everything is online now. Not everything, but many things. We're living in two kind of worlds, and you don't necessarily just pass out flyers or put an ad in a newspaper anymore to start a business. You put your face out into social media, and you put your name out into the world, and you get onto videos like this and you talk. And this is out of my comfort zone. It really is. I can talk to you, I can speak, I can stand up in front of you and deal with all kinds of things all at once. But when I see myself looking back at me, that's where I have a little pain point in my heart. So I'm going through those shifts again with my mindset. And my mindset at this point in time, after I had dealt with the same process, reflecting what's causing me to feel this way, giving myself that positive self-talk, and then figuring out how to take those next steps and what they will be. And now it's not necessarily going out and making friends, but it's about socialization, because it's the social media aspect. I'm ready to rock, and I'm ready to move forward. But it's taking those small steps. And I don't know if I could do this at my age if I hadn't already done that process before, if that makes any kind of sense. Because I'd gone through that big pivot and it was successful. So that's where, I just want people to hear about self-image. You have the power. It is all about your mindset, and it's all about finding something good. Just one thing that you can start and build from. And remembering, such an important message to remember is that sometimes what we think in our head is our own perception, that it might not be reality. And, if it is reality for some people, of course, 51, I can say that, who cares? You find your other people, right? You find the people that fit into your circle now. And once you find those people, my gosh, your world is going to be amazing. And once you start believing in yourself, the same kind of thing. So I really do encourage you to follow my blog as I work through the next year before I, go on to making this a full-time gig. Continue to catch up on these episodes of YouTube and my social media. I've recently also added LinkedIn. That's a big thing. That's a big one for me, which is a different kind of platform than Instagram and Facebook, but you can always find me on Instagram and Facebook. I'm a girl and her dog on Facebook, and a girl and her dog 19 on Instagram. And of course, the links, of course, are on my website. But do check out the website. It really does have some information for you that is absolutely at no cost to you, and ways to support you that are very reasonable if you do need some additional support. I am here. Please don't hesitate to reach out. And like I said, I'm excited for the next steps with the channel coming soon. However, I do want to tell you this. A little bit out of my comfort zone again for today, but later tonight I'm going downtown Houston to an event, a networking event with women who are podcasters. So if that works out, maybe this will all change over to a podcast. I've discussed that before, but definitely we'll let you know about that. It's just a matter of, do I want to get in front of this video with you every week? Or do I want to just do the audio? So just working through a few things, lots of changes coming, but I do really appreciate you being here. And please, like I said, don't hesitate to reach out. I am here, and this is the greatest time to reach me before things get too big and too busy with the start of school. So if you need some support, check me out. Thanks so much, and have a great rest of your week.